Peace and blessings. Welcome back. Happy Monday. I am super excited to be here with you for today's Monday message. You know, these messages are designed to help you show up to your week and to your month and to your life with a different mindset. And so I'm hoping that these quotes are helping you look differently at your life. Because like Wayne Dyer says, when we change the way we look at things, the things that we look at begin to change. All right, that wasn't today's quote, it was just a bonus. So let's dive into the quote for today. Today's quote is by Friedrich Nietzsche, and he says, "Whenever I climb, I am followed by a dog called ego." Man, I thought this was a great one. I just stumbled across this quote the other day, and I just thought, good God, isn't this one true? Whenever I climb, I am followed by a dog called ego. Look, my friends, so if you're out there in your life climbing those life mountains, you know, you're chasing down those endeavors, or you're hunkered down in a goal that you're trying to achieve, or you know, you're trying to do the things in life that you need to do, whether it's your soul's calling or just something that you need to do. Those are the mountains, right, that we're climbing. Now, Nietzsche doesn't specify mountains. He just says, when I'm climbing. So in my mind, I'm perceiving this as when I'm climbing, when I'm trying to elevate myself, when I am decided I'm gonna make it to that peak up there. Whenever I climb, whenever I endeavor to do something that's going to make me grow or bring me more success or make me happier or face a difficulty or a fear. These are all moments of climbing in our lives, right? When we have to face that person, or we have to speak our truth, or we get to do that recital, or we get to make videos. Whenever we're climbing, right? Whenever you're climbing, I guarantee you also have a dog following you. And that dog's name is ego. Look, many of us out there, when we are facing these climbs, we have this companion with us all along the way, and that is the ego. And unfortunately, for most of us, this ego is like the cynic, always behind us, saying things like, well, who do you think you are to be doing this thing? And you know, is this going to be the right time? How will it work out? People may laugh at you. People are going to make fun of you. People are going to criticize you. And this internal dialogue, right, with the ego is what we don't want to do, but yet we do it. I know I do it. That internal dialogue all the time. I mean, I had an internal dialogue before I flipped on the camera to film this video for you. Like, oh my God, why are you making these videos still? Nobody likes them. They're not good. And it's the irony as I'm writing this quote down, I'm like, oh, this is the one I'm going to do this week. And I'm having this internal dialogue with that dog that is following me on my climb. We have to do the work that allows us to be self-reflective enough to know, I'm having that conversation with the dog that's following me. And we have to, for a while, at least I'll just share my experience. What's helped me with that dog that is following me is at first having a conversation with it. What's helped me in the conversation with the dog, right, because I have dogs following me all the time, is first being able to recognize it. This is super important. Being able to recognize, oh, look at that. There's a dog following me right now, trying to have some kind of conversation with me. We have to recognize it. There's an old tactic in the healing arts world called naming it to tame it. And so, you see it, and now we're going to name it. Oh my God, there's the dog. It's following me. My ego is following me, trying to have a conversation with me. So we name it. And then in this way, we begin to tame it. So often when I work with my clients, I'll teach them to recognize, oh, fear is visiting. Oh, my ego is visiting. Oh, doubt is visiting me today. And this comes from an old practice of the Buddha. He used to do this in his meditations all the time. And even after he became the Buddha, which means the enlightened one, which we all have a Buddha within us that we're just waiting for us to awaken to. So we are not different than Buddha, only in the sense that, he actually made an effort to awaken himself. So, if you're on that path, making an effort to awaken yourself, we can follow in the footsteps of the greats, like Siddhartha, like the Buddha, when he practices some meditation. And he knows that these main visitors are going to come every day. Lust, anger, greed, hatred, jealousy, envy, and doubt. And so he would just name it to tame it. He'd be like, oh, anger is visiting me today. And he would recognize it, and he would honor it, and then eventually that visitor would leave. The visit would be over. And so this is our first step, I believe, and we may not all be as awesomely, profoundly good at this practice as the Buddha was, but we all have to start somewhere, just like the Buddha did. So let's just start by naming it to tame it. Oh, my ego is visiting right now. And then, go deeper of like, in what form your ego is visiting, in the shape of fear, in the shape of doubt, in the shape of jealousy or envy, anger, greed, right? It's going to be one of those things. And so we just start to name it. We go, okay, naming it. And then in this way, we begin to tame it. Not that we completely won it over, but it's like we're starting to tame it. We know it's there. And rather than those things having control over us, we begin to exercise the ability to have control over it so that it's simply just a visitor. It's not something that takes over you. It's not something that comes over you. It's not something that possesses you. It is an experience that you're having. You're recognizing those things are arising, but you're not giving in to them. You're not letting them be the driver of the situation, right? So I think what Nietzsche is doing in this very quote is naming it to tame it. It's exactly what he's doing. He says, when I climb, there is a dog that is always following me called ego. He's naming it. He's recognizing, right? That you're going to make that climb, that ascent in your life, and all of a sudden, that dog is barking at you. You're tired, just sit down. Or it's going to start barking, you're really hungry, you should just stop and have a snack and eat. Or the dog will start barking, oh my God, did you see that hiker just passed you up? What's wrong with you? And the dog is going to bark all kinds of things at you. And you have to recognize this is the ego. This is the ego. Now, our ego can serve us, and the ego is designed to ultimately serve us. But we have to start with just taming the ego and making friends with the ego and recognizing what the ego's job is. I think in a lot of yogic cultures, there's this misnomer that we just have to kill the ego, just get rid of the ego, that your ego is not your amigo. And although that may be true in the moment, that your ego is not your amigo, it isn't the friend that's cheering you on that you wish it would be. It doesn't mean that we just murder it and we get rid of it and we just kill it and toss it to the side. The ego is a part of our construct. It's a part of the physical being of who we are. It's a part of being in this human world. It's a part of our mental construct that allows us to have a sense of self and a sense of I-ness and a sense of identity as we make our way through this human journey. So, we're not trying to get rid of the ego or crush the ego or stomp out the ego or kill the ego or annihilate the ego. You would have no sense of self left after that. And so we're in this world as human beings, and so we need this inner working to help us identify who I am, why I'm here, where I'm going, and what I'm doing. And without the ego, you can't do any of those things. Now, many of us are not educated or trained on how to become friends with the ego, how to allow the ego to serve you, how to use the healthy ego in a way that really allows you to grow and make the climb, to do the ascent to your greater self. because your ego is going to help you get there. Ego is a part of that process. So it's not that we want to just kick this dog to the side that's always following us when we climb. Is that we need to learn to tame the dog to be our loyal friend. To be our loyal friend as we make the ascent. And so first we have to name it to tame it. Oh, that thing is here. And we identify, I'm feeling like my ego is trying to discourage me by telling me that I'm not enough. Oh, doubt has arisen. Doubt is visiting today. And we just know that we have that as a visitor. And eventually, as all visitors do, they leave. And so my friends, I really encourage you to, just check in what dog or pack of dogs have been following you as you've been making your climb in life. And then see if you can start to name it. It's fear, it's insecurity, it's doubt, self-criticism, whatever it may be, right? Begin to name it so that you can start to tame it. And it is through this very beginning step that we start to befriend the ego, simply by beginning to tame it. And ultimately we can go on to do many amazing yogic practices and meditations that allow us to become friends with our ego. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, for one who has learned to control the mind is the greatest friend. But for one who has not learned to control the mind is the greatest enemy. And so this is how, my friends, this is how we begin to make the ego and the mind our friend. We don't let the mind and the ego be the driver that's in control. Rather, we allow those things to be our charioteer. They are driving us, but under our command. Right? Like the chauffeur. The mind and the ego are driving you around, but you are in the backseat calling the shots. You're letting them know where to take you and where to go. And so I hope that this quote gives you a little peace of mind and a little sense of it's not just me. Or a sense of peace in knowing that there is a remedy to what you're experiencing. Right? That this dog that is always chasing you, it can become your loyal friend who is there to serve you and cheer you on and keep you going when you're ready to give up, rather than being the source of your giving up. So, just first of all, know that as you begin to make that climb, that dog called the ego is going to follow you. Then we need to be able to name it, to tame it. Oh my goodness, look who's following me up this climb. This is my good friend, the ego. It just doesn't know that we're supposed to be friends yet. And you name it, you begin to tame it. And in this way, you begin to have a different relationship with your inner workings. You begin to recognize them before they begin to assail you or assault you. And then you begin to tame those things. You begin to overcome those things. And those things will always visit. It's not like you master them and they just go away. Even after the Buddha became the Buddha and attained enlightenment, he still had to implement these practices of acknowledging the visitors when they come. This is how we become in control of those visitors, rather than the visitors just completely wrecking our day. I hope that this video has been helpful for you and insightful for you, and that you can take some tangible tactical tools into your life and start applying them. So your first step is just name it to tame it. Start there. Recognize that there is a dog following you as you begin your climb. And just begin that process. Name it to tame it. Laugh at it. Be mad at it. Whatever you need to do, just recognize, oh my God, jealousy is here. This is where we begin. This is where we begin. But I think that awareness is key, because my friends, you will make many climbs in your life. There will be many mountains in your life that you want to climb because you feel called. And you have to know the moment you step foot on that path to climb that mountain, that dog is going to be there. And if you have not made friends with that dog, and that dog isn't your loyal follower, those climbs are going to be full of difficulty, of doubt, and feeling disheartened. And nobody deserves to climb a mountain this way. So I'm hoping that you will apply this principle or this idea, this concept to your life before you begin the climb. If you're in the middle of the climb, I hope that you are using these tools to recognize all of the hurdles that you have been facing, most likely have been coming from the dogs that are following you. So take time to sit with this one, maybe even journal about your past climbs that you've done and what dogs come up for you. Maybe you're on a climb right now. What dog is chasing you down, barking at you, nipping at your heels? And I'll just tell you, most often, the dog that comes to visit the most when we are making these climbs is the one that says, "Who do you think you are? You're not good enough. You're not talented enough. You're not smart enough. You're not strong enough. You're not resourceful enough. You're not sharp enough. You're not pretty enough. You're not popular enough." The not enoughness, right? Which is really called the imposter syndrome. My friends, learn to recognize the imposter syndrome. That syndrome that comes over us. It's that dog is barking really loud saying, "You're not real enough to do this. You don't have what it takes." And I'll just share with you, and I'll end here. So many famous people, including Maya Angelou, feel the imposter syndrome. They feel, "Who do you think you are to be writing this book? Right? Who do you think you are to be leading this talk show?" Whatever it is. I'm thinking of the greats like Oprah Winfrey. Right? They all feel that. So look, it's not that, if you're climbing and the dogs are following you, that you're doing something wrong, that you're not ready. That's not true at all. I'm sharing this with you, and I'm ending this video here so that you know that you're on the path, like every other great person who's been on the path, who's had those dogs following them. Know that that's part of the journey, is making friends with these dogs that chase you, to make friends with the ego that wants to tell you that you are not enough. Learn to recognize the signs and notice the hurdles and begin to face them, begin to name them, begin to tame them, begin to strengthen yourself to endure these obstacles. And my friend, you will find yourself at the top of those mountains. You will find yourself at those wonderful peaks where the sights are beautiful and the air is clean and the noise has settled down and everything is quiet because you reached the peak. There will be many mountains that you can climb in your life, and you deserve to be on every single one of those peaks. Don't let those dogs keep you from those amazing views and those amazing moments of being at the top. All right, my friend, my fellow light warrior and life warrior, I hope that this has been helpful for you. If you like this video, please drop me a thumbs up down below and share this video with somebody in your life who you think may need it. And yes, that is my dog you hear snoring in the background. The irony making this video, and you got my dog snoring. I hope that added to the lovely flavor of this video. All right, have a blessed week. Enjoy climbing that mountain and recognize those dogs. Don't kick them. Make friends with them, name them, tame them, and let them be your loyal servant. All right, I will talk to you next Monday. Have a lovely week. Keep your head up high and your heart open wide, my friends. I'll see you next time. Namaste.